If you're after a gaming PC that can play the hottest titles out there right now, you have two choices. Either build your own and potentially spend way over the odds, or go for a pre-built from a reputable retailer. And while I know things are tricky right now getting hold of that magical unicorn that is a graphics card, buying a pre-built could make it a whole lot easier. And that's where this very unique system from Quiet PC comes in, using the latest and coolest components on the market from ASUS and Noctua. See what I did there? Coolest? Noctua? Let's do this. At the start of December, Quiet PC reached out to us and wanted to send us a system and sponsor this video, especially considering the release of the ultra unique ASUS RTX 3070 Noctua OC Edition, which from a first glance, I honestly think is the thickest graphics card I've ever seen. I'm not even sure how many C's you'd put on that. THICCCCCCC? Either way, it is an absolute beast. Now, this system isn't going to be for everyone, I get it. The famous beige and brown that kind of propelled Noctua to where they are today isn't going to be everyone's cup of tea. But Quiet PC teamed up with ASUS and Noctua and built the entire system around the GPU. And just like when I build a PC, I want it all to match, so no issues from me here. So enter the Quiet PC Serenity Ultimate Gamer i12, available on their bespoke build service within 7 days with a whole host of configurable options. Simply head over to the link in the description below and spec it up to your heart's content. The thing I love when going through the options is there's nothing really to skimp out on here. Every component is ASUS, Corsair, Samsung or Noctua. You won't find any subpar kind of cheap brands here, so you know you're getting the very best quality. And from my initial thoughts on the build itself, that all looks pretty solid too. I mean, anyone looking at this system will see, frankly, that it oozes quality and I guess has that unique style to it. The other thing to note is that being a pre-built, you know there won't be any issues with compatibility and everything will work straight out the gate. I mean, I've been building PCs for longer than I can remember, but even now, building something like this would take me a good hour. I mean, what even is a good hour these days? It would take at least an hour. Whereas with this system, all you have to do is fight your way through the plethora of bubble wrap, which on a side note, I love how protected this was when it arrived with us, plug in your cables, and away you go. It honestly couldn't be any simpler. So let's talk specs and what this whole system was modelled around. The RTX 3070 Noctua OC. It certainly stands out from a style perspective and will be more than enough for the latest titles at higher resolutions with settings cranked to the max, with of course, ray tracing and DLSS enabled. Yes, you'll be getting all of the latest features and technology from Nvidia to give you the most fluid gameplay possible with no issues at all. Conveniently as well, it only needs two 8-pin connectors to power it, which in all honesty is quite nice because I've actually seen lesser cards require more power. Cooling wise, it's on a completely different level, offering up a cool and quiet experience to allow the GPU to boost and stay at that sustained level of boost for even longer. Like the mantra says, may our frame rates be high and our temperatures low. Well, this card basically takes that saying, writes it out in gold, or brown, frames it and whacks it up on the wall. I mean, you'd be surprised if it didn't because it takes up 4 expansion slots in your case. I mean, it is chunky. Not chunky, but chunky. That's like one stage above chunky. In all seriousness, the card is monumentally huge, and we'll be finding out in a bit what that really means for temperatures and how it affects gameplay performance too. So GPU aside, what about the rest of the system? We all know that the GPU is at the heart of it, but is the rest of the system balanced and well matched? Well, yes. At the brain of the system, and yes, I will stop with the body part analogy soon, is the recently released Intel Core i5 12600K Alder Lake CPU. With 10 total cores comprising of 6 performance cores and 4 efficiency cores, no matter what task you throw at it, it should be up for it. With a max turbo boost speed of 4.9 GHz, 20 meg of Intel Smart Cache, and support for the latest Z690 motherboards, PCI Express 5 for when the products arrive, harnessing it, and of course DDR5 memory. Now, what I'm trying to get at is that you're covered when it comes to having a system that is fully future-proofed. Keeping the i5 12600K nice and cool is the Noctua NH-U12S Slim Tower Cooler, adding a dash more signature Noctua brown and beige to the build with its NF F12 fan. It's all perfectly balanced with the CPU. Sure, a D15S could have been slapped on there, but with the Alder Lake architecture and how it handles different tasks under different core types, the U12S is more than up for the job. Also, due to the U12S's slim design and the way that it's been engineered, there's no issue with RAM compatibility either. Now, speaking of RAM, I did mention DDR5, but right now, it's hard to get hold of, expensive, and frankly doesn't offer a big enough jump between faster speed DDR4 memory modules. And that's why inside this build is the ASUS Tough Gaming Z690 Plus Wi-Fi D4 motherboard, giving you all of the high-end features from a Z690 board while still sticking with DDR4. This is perfect for those who maybe want to upgrade the board to get DDR5 functionality at a later date, once prices, availability, and more importantly, performance come more in line with where the market and the consumer expects them to be. Other than that, we tested this board on its own and have it as part of our motherboard roundup for Z690, so check that out. And we found it to be a great prospect for the money and still keeping up in terms of performance with the DDR5 mammoth boards on the market. Feature-wise, it has PCI Express 5, USB 3.2 Gen 2x2, a decent VRM setup, 4 M.2 slots, 4 SATA ports, and tons of connectivity options. It's also quite neutral in colour now compared to how tough boards used to be, so it ties in with the rest of the system nicely. Anyone who's seen any of my videos before will know I've never really been a fan of the styling on tough boards. To add a little bit of flair to the system, which personally I think works really well, we have 32GB of Corsair Vengeance RGB Pro 3600MHz memory, perfect for giving a nice balance of performance over cost, and definitely without breaking the bank on some expensive DDR5 modules. The RGB, of course, can all be controlled through ASUS AuraSync, and even though the Noctua fans are beige and brown, the little touch of RGB on the memory and the motherboard just kind of works. So what about storing the latest games? Well, this all comes down to personal preference. I mean, if you're a hardcore Call of Duty fan, you may want to be speccing up some hefty sized SSDs or some hard drives. But again, Quiet PC have kept this system balanced with the latest speeds and a modest 500GB Gen 4 drive with the Samsung 980 Pro. With read speeds of up to 7,000 megabytes per second, write speeds of up to 5,000 megabytes per second, and smart thermal controls to keep those speeds at a sustained level. Again, this whole build focuses on keeping its components nice and cool. Powering this beastly rig, again, Quiet PC have kept it high-end with the ASUS ROG Strix 750G semi-fanless modular 80 plus gold PSU. With black braided cables and a unique design style that can be seen through the window, the 0 decibel technology again just adds to the whole point of this build being kind of built as quiet as physically possible. That's another reason why inside this build we find 4 Noctua NF A14 ultra low noise 800 RPM 140mm fans, keeping noise to a minimum due to their low spin rate that can also be dropped down to 650 RPM using the supplied adapter, while still pushing through a massive airflow rate of 46.9 CFM or 39.1 CFM with the low noise adapter. Sound-wise, these fans deliver 11.9 decibels or 9.1 decibels with the low noise adapter. They may as well just be silent. Having all this airflow is great, but it needs a case that has enough space for it to move around while not skimping on design and the features that you need. That's where the ASUS ROG Strix Helios White Edition case comes in, with some unique design choices, stacks of room, and some cool features that really look the part, like the GPU holder, which trust me, with this beast of a GPU, it definitely needs. As well as that gorgeous glass front panel with AuraSync RGB lighting and those comfortable case handles for help with carrying your rig to LAN parties in style. You can't say that this system won't stand out. I've never seen anything quite like it. So styling aside, with this ASUS Corsair Noctua love child of a build, can it keep up with the latest titles? And more importantly, does the whole system stay cool and quiet? Well, before we jump into our first title, this system has been on throughout this whole video, and I think it's safe to say you simply can't hear it at idle. I mean, take a listen. I mean, based on that, I physically can't hear it above our studio lights, which are 4 feet away, so I'm expecting great things. So let's find out how it does at load with our first title. So first things first, Call of Duty Warzone. It had to be done, right? Ray tracing is on, DLSS is on, highest settings 1440p. Literally everything is cranked to the max, and yeah, we're roaming around getting 153 frames per second, so not bad overall. We are just in the lobby, just waiting. I have no sound, so frankly, I don't really want to play sort of, you know, your normal gameplay, because if I die, at least I have an excuse then. So next game up is Shadow of the Tomb Raider. Again, we're at 1440p. We've got DLSS set to quality, and we've got ray tracing shadows on. This game doesn't technically support full-on ray tracing, but it has got ray tracing shadows. Very intensive game, really, when you look at it for lighting, ambient occlusion and stuff like that. And we are currently getting 96, 98, 102 frames per second. I mean, there's not a mass amount kind of going on in the game right now, but still pretty damn impressive. If anyone hasn't actually played this game, definitely recommend it. It's quite surprisingly a decent game and a good addition to the series. So lastly, obviously we have to run a little bit of Metro Exodus. Some would dub it kind of the crisis of our time, known to bring many systems to their knees. We are running at 1440p, we've got ray tracing set to high, we are on the extreme graphics setting, and we've got DLSS on, and we are getting 80 to sort of 85 frames per second. Again, I have no sound, so no real kind of idea of what I've got to do. All I know is I need to kill people and not be killed. Simple as that. So 74 frames per second. I mean, this is more than playable. You could increase the frame rate, maybe bring the quality settings down a little bit, maybe turn ray tracing off if you don't fancy that. But overall, pretty damn impressive. Should we just get into it? And now we've run out of bullets. That's not good. Ah, there's a silence weapon. Again, playing a game without any audio, not the easiest thing to do, especially when you're trying to be on camera. So gaming aside, obviously that's no good if your system's going to be overheating and you're not going to be getting the performance that you want, or more importantly, it's going to be noisy as hell. So let's check out the temperatures. I mean, straight away we can see on the i5 12600K during the gameplay testing that we actually did, it only got to a maximum of 69 degrees, and just being next to it as well, I couldn't really hear it. There was a little bit of coil whine that you'd expect from the graphics card, but not from the actual fans themselves. You've got to remember, the system is right in front of me and the microphone is kind of positioned here. So once there's a side panel on it, once it's moved off to the side in a kind of normal setup, then you're not going to hear anything. So 69 degrees. I mean, that's pretty damn impressive. Looking at the GPU, that did not get above 60.5 degrees Celsius. The hotspot on it did get up to 71.4, but overall, I mean, that's amazing. But as I say, temperatures are one thing. What about the actual acoustic side of things? So let's go with Metro Exodus. Let's bump it up to 1440p on the extreme setting, ray tracing on high, DLSS on, basically all of the settings that we already ran, and let's just run it. And the microphone, like I say, is positioned literally here, right in front of the PC. So the Metro Exodus benchmark is now running. I'm just going to keep quiet just for 10 seconds so you guys can hear how loud this system is when it's being kind of pushed to its limits. And like I say, GPU is currently sitting at 57 degrees. The CPU is currently sitting at between 45 and 51 degrees. These are some amazing numbers, and it's all down to this PC. I mean, colour me impressed. The build does what it sets out to do, keeping frame rates high, temperatures low, and to be quiet as a mouse. Maybe they need to rethink the PCMR slogan now. Frame rates high, temperatures low, quiet as a mouse. I mean, basically, in all seriousness, Quiet PC have done an amazing job at picking the parts for this build and matching them all up nicely. I get that the colour scheme isn't going to be for everyone, and that's okay, as the Quiet PC configurator allows you to spec it to your own personal tastes and have it built and delivered to you within 7 days. I mean, the other alternative is to build it yourself, but even after speccing this whole system up, component by component, it comes out around the same kind of price. And that's solely based on you getting a graphics card for its recommended retail price, which is still nigh on impossible right now. So what do you guys think? Is the colour scheme for you, or is it a bit too much? Is the GPU just a bit too big, or have you wanted one ever since you first saw the leaked images? Let me know in the comments section below. I'm kind of really interested to see, can performance trump styling? Is beauty in the eye of the beholder? I mean, that's why you all watch my videos, right? Right? Either way, hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you did, you know exactly what to do, and why not head on over to Quiet PC and check out this system. The link is in the description below, and with that, I'll see you in the next one. See you later, guys. Bye-bye.